This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to the education and advancement of today's artists in the world of glass. My goal is to share an understanding of simple business principles and relationship development that you, the artist, can implement now. Starting with good habits and a solid foundation, you can grow not only as an artist, but also an artistic entrepreneur. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of October 2016, Mountain Glass is offering their Boros sale, shot, rod, and tube at 35% off. Just enter the code SHOT at checkout. That's SCHOTT at checkout. And for all you soft glass nerds, they're offering their COE 104 sale, jewelry making essentials, 25% off. Just put in the code JEWELRY, that's JEWELRY at checkout for 25% off. And for all your questions, comments, or concerns, just go to mountainglass.com. That's mountainglass.com. This episode is also brought to us by Glass Roots. Now entering its 8th year, Glass Roots is designed for artists and distributors who wish to do wholesale business with shops and galleries. Located at the Monona Terrace Convention Center in Madison, Wisconsin, Glass Roots showcases the works of over 40 vendors consisting of raw material suppliers, functional and non-functional art, and charitable glass organizations. To stay up to date with Glass Roots, just go to glassrootsartshow.com. That's glassrootsartshow.com. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 129. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. With 17 years of experience behind the torch, I am as excited as always to bring you conversations with artists, sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain while helping you grow your business. And today is no exception. Today's conversation is going to be part 4 of 5 in a series I've been doing on how to price and sell your work. And today we're going to get into the conversation of production, high volume versus low volume, kind of the basics on the whole concept and storyline of production. I don't get into too full details, but I get into more of the philosophical concepts and ideas of how myself personally goes through the process of doing production, especially from the bare bones minimum of getting started on production and how to really calculate your numbers, blah, blah, blah. So definitely hope you enjoy it. It's definitely informative. I have spent some really a lot of time on sitting down and making sure that it's not that long of an episode, but it's just enough information to not be overwhelming and consumable so you can digest it and then take it into your business and hopefully put it into action. And a lot of conversations I've had with other artists out there who have gone through these series that I've been doing, the feedback I've been getting is amazing. For those that have contacted me and let me know you have actually implemented it and created a business for yourself based on these concepts and topics. So I love it. So thank you for the feedback. And I've had a huge response this last week on downloads. I did a little bit of an experiment / got kind of busy. We had not sure there was a kind of, this will be not so evergreen per se, but a lot of you out there in the world, period, may have seen that we had a massive hurricane that just skimmed the east coast of our state here in Florida. And so last week, besides my crazy work schedule, we also were all preparing for potential catastrophe here. I'm on the west coast of Florida, but this hurricane was the size of Texas. And when you're dealing with hurricanes, they have to wobble a little bit on their tracks, and sometimes the little wobble they have can completely change their path. And thank God this one did not really change all that much off track. Initially, the forecast was it was going to go right up the east coast of the state, potentially the eye wall, which had 145 plus mile-an-hour winds sustained. And that would have been completely catastrophic for the east coast of Florida. And a lot of you out there, maybe even you listening right now, a lot of artists are based on the east coast of Florida. And over there on the East Coast, they've got more waves and surf, and it's a little bit different of a type of community than I have here on the West Coast, where we don't have the waves and stuff. It's kind of a neat dynamic of where the state is. But yeah, so that last week was a little bit of an interesting week. We've had a hell of a month and a half between storms and what have you. So I didn't really post anything last week. I had really riding on the coattails of 2 really amazing interviews, and the download numbers have been unbelievable. I mean, like completely mind-blowing. So if you're new to the show, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you finding me out. And, I'm super humbled and awesome. I just love it. So just keep it up. Keep the downloads going. Share with your friends and family. I have some goals set number-wise for the show for this month, as also through the rest of the year. And I would love to see these goals in terms of numbers reached as this show grows and continues to grow. So, again, thank you if you're new for tuning in. And we're back on track. I'm going to be spending most of the day today recording several different series of content. Not to spoil anything, but these will be going out over the next couple weeks as we gear up for the holidays, because now we're in October, and before we know it, it's going to be Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then Christmas is here, and Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, and all the other fun holidays we have. So we all need to start thinking about that in sales and gearing up for getting into the nitty-gritty. So part 5 of the series is going to be gearing up for the holidays in terms of pricing and selling your work. I did a small little episode last year on the process I went through to get ready for Etsy and sell on Etsy for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And it was a successful episode, per se. But being a year ago, it was a year ago. So I'm going to kind of revisit that whole idea and where we're at now and with the way things have changed and the outlets we have to sell. So stay tuned for that upcoming series of part 5 on selling your work. But for today, we're going to be getting into the production side of things. And production doesn't necessarily have to be low quality. It should be low quality. As you'll hear in this episode, production should be the highest quality standard that you can potentially create. Whether you're making a shitty, little 3-inch wrap and rake spoon, or you're making this $10,000 rig, it doesn't really matter. The idea is that your work is going to speak for yourself, for you. And if you're making stuff and don't really care about the work you're creating on the lower end side of things, it's going to really speak to those that want to buy your work, because they're going to be concerned maybe that down the road you won't give a shit about your higher end work. Or if they see your work and you have high end and low end stuff, and your high end stuff looks great but your low end stuff looks like shit, it's just kind of this weird dynamic that you have. You want to make sure you're consistent across the board. And by doing production also, it allows you to be more viable in your business and consistent. And you also will be able to calculate numbers easier, figure out timing-wise, give estimates to your distributors, wholesalers, whoever's buying your work on dates of delivery. Myself, something that I have struggled with over the years, time management in a sense, just the way my brain is, trying to get organized and schedule things. And I really found that up until about 5 years ago, before I started working at Disney, and just that one more thing I added to my plate, my production schedule was pretty good. And I had a wholesaler that would come in town. He'd pick up my work every couple weeks. But now that I ship, and shipping is probably the biggest thing I struggle with still, which is just fucking crazy. I've talked to a lot of artists who struggle with shipping their glass out. They'll make glass for 2 weeks and it just sits in their studio. So anyways, just kind of a digress back to where I was at. So the production side of things is really important, and you'll get in as you hear the conversation that I have. Really just fine-tuning your work, making sure things are consistent, be able to calculate numbers, the time, everything. So that way, if you get an order for 1,000 pieces, it's a big number, but you can calculate an estimate on how much material you're going to need for that order. So make sure you pay attention. In the show notes, there are 2 links. One is a PDF that is a worksheet I created for you. Basically, it's a 5-question, or maybe 4. It's actually 4 questions to ask yourself before you actually sit down and start the actual manufacturing process. You got to start off with an idea, a concept, in the creation process, and then you go from there and you build it up, you organize it, and then you begin the production. So you'll see in this questionnaire, it really makes you sit down and do some serious soul searching and answer these questions to yourself honestly. You have to be honest with yourself when you answer these questions. Don't think about making people happy and all that kind of shit. When it comes down to answering these questions, it's all about you and what you're capable of doing, and what it is that you want to actually do. Because there's times where I know myself and other artists that I've interviewed and talked to over the years, you get these orders in and you're excited about them when you first get them, and then you're like halfway through of it and you're like, oh my God, this sucks. Going back to Jeremy Grant Levine, talking about his 1,000 crane project he's going to be doing. We're literally over the next year, he's going to be making 1,000 cranes out of glass. And he was saying in the interview that he's able to make 5 a day in a good work productive day. And you break that down over a year, if that's all he's going to make, it means every single day he's making 5 glass cranes. Now, he gave himself room for some time off. Obviously, you need to have time off. He's not going to be cranking 7 days a week, 365. But the idea is that he's going to be focused on one specific detailed item that is what he's going to make. I'm sure he's going to vary here and there to change it up a little bit, but the idea is still to have a passion and a love that what you're doing, you can do it. If someone say you have one item, they order 100 of them, can you actually physically and emotionally create 100 of that one item? Not everybody can. A lot of people that are quote-unquote artists in a mental state have a very difficult time on doing the same thing over and over again. I know myself. I also do. I struggle with it. But for me, it's more fulfilling to have a kiln full of one item that I've made all day long, that there's 50 of the same thing in there, than to sit down in one day and just make one item. So just the way my brain works is kind of an interesting thing, which is also why my gig at Disney, part of it is a beneficial thing for myself because we do production there. It's a higher scale item-wise production, but nonetheless, it's still production. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Again, this is all very critical, important areas to take into consideration. Whether you're new, you're a novice, you're a hobbyist, you're a professional, it doesn't matter. These are things you need to take into consideration for sure. I also want to let you know real quick before we go on with the show, the Mountain Glass has a bunch of other sales going on besides their monthly sale on their color glass and stuff. Right now they are offering their kiln sales. They have a Paragon Bluebird XL digital kiln. The dimensions are 20 by 4.5 by 9 inches. It's a 120 also, which is killer. Normally they're priced at $11.25, and right now they're on sale for $8.99. So it's a really killer little small kiln. Also, they have their Genkin AF3 digital kiln. It's a top loader, but it's got a front bead door on it, which is killer. One of my students, Richard, that I have, he actually has this kiln, and it's perfect for getting started. Normally it's $875. Right now they have it on sale for $699.99. It's a 120 also. These are the kind of kilns you could think of also when you're thinking about doing demonstrations. If you go to a shop that doesn't have a studio set up and they have you set up outside in a tent or some shit, you need to bring a kiln with you. These little small kilns are perfect for traveling. They also have the chili pepper that's out there, which to me also is a genius concept that they took a toolbox, made it into a kiln, weighs like 8 pounds, works on 120. It's perfect for portability. But for now, Paragon and Genkin have 2 different types of kilns on sale right now. Mountain Glass, go check them out for that. And also their torch sale they have right now. They've got the Bethlehem torch. This is the Champion. They have on sale right now, and also their Red Max Mega Minor Top Fire torch is on sale. It's $40 off right now. And they're having a Mountain Glass Arts Overstock Mega Sale. Over 100 items, torches, tubing, joints, millies, rods, tools, etc. Explosive discounts. Like big discounts. The CC Plus Ball and Post mount. It's normally $2,200. They've got it on sale for $1,900. They've got an Opal contest right now. And some fun stuff. So check them out, mountainglass.com. Go get them a view, get on their sales. And if you're brand new and you want to get started, you can go get their starter kits, put in the code WISEGUY at checkout, and receive 10% off that order. And so there you go for them. And also hope all y'all that are up at Glassroots this week are having a good time doing sales, getting rid of all the production you've been doing, the items you've been holding on to and making sacrifices and not selling those items. I know it's a huge deal when you have to sit and work for 3 months and you don't sell anything because you're stocking up for a trade show. So good luck and congrats to everybody that's out there at Glassroots. Anybody taking the classes, they're doing an awesome event this week, so definitely enjoy that. And until next time, I'm going to let you guys rock and roll. Definitely go to wiseguymedia.com. Check out the podcast website, everything going on, all things wise, as well as some teasers for an upcoming online course I'm offering. And also this episode, you'll be able to wiseguymedia.com/129. And on there, you'll have the full show notes, the PDF downloads, all that good stuff. And also, I created the new pop-up for our subscription for the website. So if you see a little pop-up, you can go in there, and I'm giving away right now basically a little mini ebook on the beginning process of it's called So You Want to Be a Glassblower, and it's basically an introduction into the whole mindset of being a full-time professional glass artist and the sacrifices that we make, and really to ask yourself, do I really want to be a glassblower? So go there, wiseguymedia.com. Go there, subscribe, join our newsletter. And other than that, oh yeah, one more thing before I forget. If you're part of our Christmas in July Secret Santa pendant trade, I sent out a mass email last week, heard back from about half of you. If you are part of the trade and have not sent out your pendant or have not received it, make sure you check your email. Check the junk folder. It might have gone there. I've had some people respond saying they've got it in the junk folder. I need some responses from everybody just to make sure we're all on the same page to make this a successful trade. I'm sure that there will be a couple of you out there that might fall through the cracks. So I just want to make sure I'm staying on top of everybody and keeping everybody accountable for all this. So you keep me accountable, I keep you accountable, and we all are successful together. So hit me up, check your emails, check the folder if you need to, and I'm out of here. Love ya. Enjoy episode 129, talking about production, high volume versus low volume. Take care. Peace. Back, and now it's time for us to get into our discussion about high volume production versus low volume production. When it comes to manufacturing and selling production, there are many variables that need to be taken into consideration before beginning. For one, do you have an outlet that can move your product lines on a consistent basis? And if so, is it you or a distributor? Now, the second thing to think about is how many items and variations of these items do you want to create? The next thing is how can you keep up with the volume? And can you keep up with it? And last is how diverse are you in regards to these lines and the creations of your styles? There are two ways to look at production: high volume, low end production versus low volume, high end production. Let's start with the idea of creating a production line, and then we will move into the differences of the two areas of consideration. Production. Noun. The action of making or manufacturing from components or raw materials. Synonyms are manufacture, making, construction, building, fabrication, assembly, creation. The manufacturing process can be fun and challenging, as consistency is the key to any successful production line. In past episodes, I've discussed the process of finding the baseline calculations of your items. And just kind of a side note, in the show notes, there's a figure I have down below where I reposted how to calculate and estimate your baseline calculations. Baseline calculations are key to running a successful business as a production artist. Without a strong, calculated foundation, you'll end up chasing your tail as supplies dry up and run short while making a larger order. The worst case scenario would be if you were halfway or 3/4 of the way through the completion of any order and you suddenly realized you don't have enough material to get your order finished by the deadline you set. So make sure you break down and calculate this out before starting. This will also give you a good idea on the estimated time of completion, and I say estimated because 95% of the time, something will come up that will delay your order. In this situation, just make sure you leave an open line of communication with your rep or retailer so that both of you are on the same page. As the glass industry grows, so does innovation and the variety of items that can be made or sold no matter what niche you reside in. Whether it's manufacturing beads, pendants, ornaments, pipes, etc., you'll need to create a line that is both diverse and unified with a theme or concept. This will help keep your brain focused on the specifics and not constantly seeking other ways of being creative throughout the manufacturing process. If you can set a schedule for yourself to where either on certain days or certain times of that day, you allow for a bit of free time to play with a new idea, this will help you stay fresh with ideas while maintaining a good production schedule, keeping you on track. Before you begin putting your line together, you'll need to sit down and do some serious soul searching, as these decisions will determine how successful you'll be in the end. Here's a simple exercise you can use for anything you're going to create, especially in the area of production. And these are 4 questions that you should ask yourself, and this is also a questionnaire PDF that is downloadable on the show notes. Just click your little image button there for the show notes or the logo for the podcast, and there should be the write-up for the show notes. And then they'll say downloadable PDF, and just click that, and you'll be able to print out these questions that I've made for you that has a form, basically like a fill in the blanks that you can go through and actually complete this exercise. So here's a little homework for you to do. This is a simple exercise that you can do that should take no more than 30 minutes and can be used for anything you are going to create, especially in the areas of production. The first question you should ask yourself is, how many different styles can you make in a timely fashion? And these are styles that you can actually make. For example, a 3-inch hand pipe or spoon, a Sherlock, a hammer bubbler, a carb cap, etc. Once you have all these written down in your form, then you go to your next question, which is, of items written down, which ones are repeatable in a clean, consistent production line? Side note, think of yourself as a catalog. Your items need to consistently match the items in your catalog. For example, so I wrote all my things down I already asked myself. A 3-inch spoon? Yes, I can make that. A Sherlock? Yes. Hammer bubbler? Yes. Carb cap? Yes. Etc. Who knows? So as you go down and write your list of things, think of these items and really truly think, can you make this 20 times in a row and it's going to look damn near exactly the same every single time? Obviously, variations come because they're handmade, but still, by having a consistent formula, you should be able to create the same item every single time. If you cannot create the single item, and seriously, be honest with yourself. Don't say you can if you don't think you can. You can always go back and learn the style and the model and then add it to your list or your catalog. And this leads up to the third question you need to ask yourself. Of said items, how many different patterns can you use to diversify the line? For example, my 3-inch spoon. I can do a wrap and rake, a wig wag. I can do dot patterns, stripes, color changers, inside out, etc. The Sherlocks, hammer bubblers, carb caps, all the same. These are all patterns that I know that I've done 1,000 times that I can consistently do over and over and over and over again. If all you can do is wrap and rake, that's awesome. You can still make a huge production line just doing wrap and rake. If all you know is inside out, well, you need to back up and learn how to do wrap and rakes first and then go to inside outs again. But you should still do your inside outs. If you know how to do them, do them. But the idea for doing this and consistently doing this whole concept and this actual process and this exercise is to really back yourself up to create a really, really strong foundation so that you're an overall well-rounded artist, not just someone that makes rigs or not just someone that makes whatever, just one item. You got to be able to know your medium and make whatever the hell it is that you want to make. So again, of the items that you wrote down that you think that you actually not think that you know that you can make from the second question, then next to each one, write down the patterns and the types of ideas that you can do. And the last and most important question is, if a distributor ordered 100 of just one of the single items that you wrote down, can your soul handle the monotony? This needs to be asked for every single item that you have listed that you can make. And again, if you have a 3-inch spoon and you write this down and you have 5 different patterns you can do, you now have 5 different pipes you can make, 5 different product lines that you can produce. If a customer calls you and says, hey, I want 100 of A, that's wrap and rake spoons, are you going to really be able to sit down and make 100 of these things? It might take you 5 days making 20 a day, but you got to think about this. This is some serious soul-searching questions. So again, sit down and take about 20 to 30 minutes, print out the PDF download, or you can write it down on a piece of paper. It's easier to download it. You can also go to the episode on the website, which I'll talk about at the end of this talk. But if you sit down and write these questions down, so again, the first question is, how many different styles or models can you make in a timely fashion? All the ones that you think you can make. And then write down the ones that you can do consistently over and over and over again in a production line. The third question is, of these items that you can do consistently in a production line, how many different patterns can you use to diversify the line? And then the fourth question, the most important, is if a distributor ordered 100 of just one single item, can your soul handle the monotony? Think about it. Can you do it over and over and over and over and over and over? 100 times is a lot of damn times. If, again, you do it over 5 days, it's 20 a day, it makes it easier to do it. But you got to think this way because this is going to come up. And if you want to run a business and be successful, these are the kind of questions that you have to sit down and ask yourself. Can you actually do it? Hopefully, yes. Once you get all these areas established, then it's time to fine-tune your line and begin production. Before you begin the actual production, you need to produce a sample of each item that you will be adding to your catalog and keep as a reference. Once you have your references in hand, then it's time for a test run. The test run means you'll need to create a minimum of 3 per item in a row without stopping to better gauge the estimated time of manufacturing. This will not only help keep you on task, but it will also make it easier to price your work based on the time and the materials associated with said piece. And this downloadable PDF I have includes a chart to input your info in there too. So if you have an example, say a 3-inch spoon wrap and rake, you go back to your sample that you made, and here's a breakdown of the process. So your prep. Your prep includes, to make this 3-inch wrap and rake spoon, 2 inches of extra heavy 25.4 millimeter Simax, 2 inches of color, and about 9 inches of 6 millimeter clear. This is the formula for this item only and will be repeated the same way of creating your formulas for each item that you've listed. So again, you go back to your 3-inch wrap and rake spoon, you make a sample, you write down what you use to make that piece. If you have to weigh out the material, you can do that too. It's a little bit easier to do it by measurements, by inches. So a 3-inch spoon takes 2 inches of 25.4 Simax, 2 inches of color, and 9 inches of 6 mil clear. With the points prepped, it's time to begin. The prep has to be calculated into the time of manufacturing, so use a stopwatch app on your phone and write the times down in this PDF that's attached. Estimated prep time is about 5 minutes. So 5 minutes it took me to pull 3 points, have all my color prepped up and ready to go. Now that the points are hot in my kiln, I can now make my 3 spoons in a row without stopping. It roughly took me 25 minutes plus the 5 minutes to do the prep, which makes it 30 minutes total to make 3 3-inch wrap and rake spoons, or they're 10 minutes apiece. And now that you know that you have 10 minutes to make one piece, then you sit down and say, hey, okay, someone is going to order 100 of these things. You do 10 minutes apiece, times that by 100, and now you got 1,000 hours, literally. So think about it. You got to think about you've got to think about the reality. I'm trying to spit this out of what it actually takes to be a manufacturer. There's a lot goes into it. And if you can start off with this foundation by first creating your sample, timing it, figuring out what materials go into it, write all this shit down, keep your samples, even take a picture and print it out and stick it on a piece of paper that has the ingredients next to it as if it's a freaking cookbook, this will make your life way easier and also give you references. These samples, they can also then be photographed for your catalog if you're going to do an online catalog or a paper catalog. And then if you travel to stores or do trade shows, you now have a shit ton of samples you can have that you've collected over the years that you can then bring with you as these are my samples. How many do you want? And then you can get your orders that way also. Just some things to think about. In my opinion, if you want to be a successful artist, then you will need to have a few lines of mass-produced items that will be your bread and butter, while also maintaining a line of lesser-produced higher-end items, giving you a diverse line for anyone to afford. Now, depending on how you sell your work will determine what you actually make in regards to the items and price points. If you sell directly to retailers, then your price point will be higher than as if you sold to a distributor, and this will also determine the amount of volume you will need to create. Most distributors have a large customer base that they will need to keep fulfilled with items they are carrying, including yours. This means you will need to create a few models, but higher volume of them. If you sell directly to the retailers, then you'll need to create a diverse line of work, giving the retailers a nice variety of styles and price points to choose from. This concept in manufacturing also goes for those who attend and sell at trade shows. At trade shows, you're your own distributor, and you're representing yourself as an artist, which means that it is crucial for you to find your voice through a diverse product line that says, this is, insert artist name, glass, and have it viewed as such in a good light. Just because something is mass-produced in high volume doesn't mean it needs to be lesser quality. Even low-end items should still be manufactured to a high level of quality. A 3-inch wrap and rake spoon should be given the same detail that a $1,000 rig is given. The difference between the two is the lower-end item is made faster and with less material, where the higher-end item might take 2 days to create and is $150 worth of materials put into it. This is where the concept of low-end versus high-end comes in. Locally made glass, whether low-end or high-end, should live up to the standards that the higher-end glass is held to. If you are a novice or a hobbyist that is trying to create higher-end work while your lower-end work still looks like garbage, then you need to take a step back and fine-tune your skills before stepping up and attempting to create something you would consider a higher-end line. Having a foundation of fine-tuned skills will help you move forward towards creating the higher-end lines more naturally and not feel so forced. There is a ton of garbage in the glass art world that is being passed as high-quality work and only puts a light on the crap instead of shining on the highly refined, developed artists. So if your skills aren't up to par just yet, stay within your realm of skills while still moving forward to the ultimate destination of being a well-rounded, fundamentally sound glass artist. By starting off as a low-end production artist, you'll give yourself opportune time to fine-tune your skills, create a diverse line of work, all the while supporting yourself as you continue to grow as an artist. If you're at the point in your career where your skills are diverse, then you can create an a large, diverse line of work, ranging in many styles and price points, giving yourself a voice through your work. I truly hope this helps you understand and differentiate the different sides of production. This is all bare bones info, as I'll be delving into the higher end lines of work in a future episode. And don't forget to go down below in the show notes. I have how to calculate your baseline calculations for production that you can then take and use this super informative stuff on helping you price your work. And again, pricing your work, if you're going to sell it to a distributor, most distributors will pay for your work. If you sell it to a retailer for, say, $10, a distributor will probably pay you $6 or $7, depending on who they are and how much volume they buy. The more that they purchase from you, the lesser price they're going to expect to pay. But don't sell yourself for too cheap. Don't go honestly, I wouldn't go any more than 40% off your work. So if you're selling something to a shop for $10, a distributor would pay you $6. So if you get an order for 100 of them, and they're $6 each, it's a $600 order. It's probably only going to cost you maybe $1 to make. So you got $100 with the shit going into it. So you can profit $500. And that's something you can make in a week, 5 days. You can crank out 100 pieces. $6 pieces shouldn't be anything less or any more than like some kind of 4-inch wrap and rag spoon or some kind of cheap low-end production. So that's just some ways to look at it and way to think about it. If you take this kind of information and these ideas I'm giving you, go through the process of going through and writing down these questions and answering these questions honestly to yourself. What can you make? What can't you make? If you can make it, can you make it over and over and over again? And if you can't make it over and over again, do you really want to do that? Because again, if you have a distributor, they're going to probably order at least 50 to 100 of each item that you have. So if you have like a 100-item catalog, watch out, Now, if you do have a 100-item catalog, then that means that you really shouldn't have a distributor. You should just be your own damn distributor, when it comes down to it. But there's ways to scale your business. You can get into a higher production line, have 100 items, bring some guys in that you can teach. You can show the bare bones minimums on the lower end stuff, and you can create the higher end stuff. There's different ways of going about it, which we'll talk about later in different episodes. And I've also talked about it when we were covering the E-Myth Revisited book that's out, which is all about how to scale your business and just the philosophy and mindset for it. I hope this helps you thinking about different ways of mindset when it comes to production and just the real core that goes into it. Definitely leave me comments, any questions, anything you want to talk about, all about insights and information. If you want to tell me how you go about doing your production lines, I would love to hear about it. So thank you for tuning in to episode 129, High Volume versus Low Volume. And it's part 4 of our series on pricing and selling our work. And again, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please, again, go to iTunes, subscribe to the show if you have not yet, and download it. The numbers are amazing. You guys are blowing my mind. All over the world, we have now over 65 countries listening to the show. And I still need to put that picture up. I got to find out how to actually put pictures into my post for Libsyn, which is the host I use for the show. I can also put it on the website too, which I need to do that. That'd be kind of fun to just keep that updated. But either way, thanks again. I love you tons. You mean the world to me for listening to this and taking time to have me in your head talking to you. Happy melting. Be safe. Stay hydrated. And it is fall. I'm excited. I'm sure you are too. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by the Flow magazine. Since its inception, the focus of the Flow has been to provide a bond among members of the lampworking community. At every issue, you can enjoy great content with the hottest artists and cutting-edge techniques using the latest industry products. These features, along with the continuation of our Women in Glass edition, Glasscraft Emerging Artist Awards, inspiring gallery showcases, dynamic general interest articles, as well as health and safety information, make the Flow the leading international lampworking journal. For more information or to subscribe to the Flow, go to theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com.